The results of a survey of entrepreneurs across Quebec are puzzling. Economist Frédéric Laurin, the author of the survey, who claims that the impact of the pandemic does not follow any standard economic model. An online survey conducted by the Research Institute on SMEs, INRPME, in collaboration with the Federation of Chambers of Commerce of Quebec (FCCQ), obtained the pulse of 1238 companies spread in each of the regions about the consequences of COVID-19 on business. Some of the regions most affected by the economic crisis caused by the health crisis are, according to the data collected, Estrie, Lanaudière and Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean, but it seems very difficult to explain this finding. I was trying to explain the regional ranking, and it doesn't respect any model of economic development that we know about. It is not the distance from Montreal, it is not against the West, it is not the resource sector compared to others, it is not rural vs urban. There is no logic, says Frédéric Laurin. The explanation undoubtedly lies in the sectoral composition of each of the regional economies, believes the researcher, who admits having to dig much more to validate this hypothesis. In contrast to the spectrum, the poll suggests that the greater metropolitan area including Montreal and Laval would be the least severely affected by the crisis. However, an important methodological problem calls these results into question. The representation of respondents appears to be highly unbalanced, with 201 respondents in Basse-Saint-Laurent and 30 in Montreal, or 128 respondents in Lanaudière and only 6 in Laval. To which researcher Frédéric Laurin replies that the overall picture remains reliable. Overall, it's pretty reliable. Where it is most problematic is at the regional level. We were dependent on the number of respondents. If you have at least 70 to 100 respondents per region, you start to have something a little clearer as answers, he explains. The online survey was conducted from May 5 to 19 with members of the Chambers of Commerce and the INRPME contact network associated with the University of Quebec at Trois-Rivières, UQTR. Avoided disaster? If he finds it difficult to explain the geographical distribution of the economic crisis, Frédéric Laurin agrees that tourism and culture are wrestling very seriously. However, the manufacturing sector would have managed to avoid the disaster, which is an encouraging sign for an economic recovery. The situation is very serious, but I expected the worst. I expected a catastrophic situation, he said. People understand that this is not a normal crisis. It is a crisis with a beginning and an end. In a normal recession, you never know when it will end. Quote, among the highlights of the survey, we note that 54% of businesses have reduced their activities by half, or even more. A third of the respondents had to lay off more than 75% of their employees, but 38.5% of the companies did not lay off almost anyone. The most encouraging data indicates that almost 82% of respondents have little or no fear of going bankrupt. The researcher spoke with many entrepreneurs to find that manufacturing companies continued to produce and that service companies increased their turnover, especially in information technology. Furthermore, when asked how they see the coming months, business people seem slightly more pessimistic for general economic conditions than for their own business, according to Frédéric Laurin. 45.1% of respondents say they are optimistic about the future of their business against 31.2% who say they are pessimistic. The share of pessimists climbs to 47.4% compared to the economy in general. This feeling also translates into a reluctance to invest. The economist himself is quite positive, saying that things are not as bad as they say. We always compare to a normal crisis, and it is absolutely not a normal crisis. In a normal crisis, an unemployment rate of 7 to 8% will worsen the situation even more, while now people will return to work very quickly, argues the expert from the INRPME. Frédéric Laurin goes even further by warning against an over-pessimism which could prove more harmful by affecting the morale of investors and consumers.